Comedy is a universal language, transcending borders and cultural differences to bring people together through laughter. One region where the influence of American comedy has been particularly pronounced is in Africa, where the comedy scene has exploded in recent decades. African comedians, while deeply rooted in their own cultural and societal contexts, have been heavily influenced by American humor, particularly in terms of style, delivery, and the global appeal of stand-up comedy. In this article, we explore how American comedy has shaped African comedians and how they have adapted these influences into their unique comedic voices. From stand-up to sitcoms, from social media to comedy festivals, the impact of American comedy is evident in various facets of African humor. The origins of American influence. American comedy has had a long-standing global impact, thanks to the worldwide appeal of Hollywood films, TV shows, and, more recently, digital content. Icons like Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, and Kevin Hart have not only revolutionized stand-up comedy, but have also influenced an entire generation of comedians worldwide. The rise of American sitcoms and sketch shows, such as Saturday Night Live, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and The Office, has also helped shape comedic sensibilities around the globe. In Africa, American comedy's influence began to take root in the 1990s with the increasing availability of cable television and satellite channels. Shows like The Cosby Show, Friends, Seinfeld, and Chappelle's Show became staples of entertainment across the continent. These shows provided African viewers with a window into American culture and humor, exposing them to new comedic styles, timing, and techniques that were previously unavailable. Stand-up comedy, a borrowed format. One of the most significant ways American comedy has influenced African comedians is through the rise of stand-up comedy. In the 1990s and early 2000s, stand-up comedy began to gain traction in major African cities like Lagos, Nairobi, and Johannesburg. While African comedic traditions have always included storytelling, satire, and performance, stand-up comedy as a form was largely popularized by American comedians. The storytelling style of American stand-up, where the comedian recounts personal anecdotes or cultural observations, resonated deeply with African audiences. American stand-up comics like Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, known for their sharp social commentary and fearless exploration of race and identity, gave African comedians the blueprint for using humor as a tool for social critique. African stand-up comics started using their platforms to discuss similar societal issues such as politics, corruption, and cultural differences. A prime example of this influence is Nigerian comedian Basketmouth, who, in his early years, adopted the structure and delivery of American stand-up while incorporating local themes and experiences. His humorous takes on Nigerian politics, daily life, and relationships, all presented in the observational style of American comics, became wildly popular. Similarly, South Africa's Trevor Noah, a global comedic sensation, built much of his early stand-up material around the influence of American comics, blending it with his South African roots to create a unique voice that appeals to audiences worldwide. Comedy specials and global recognition. With the rise of streaming platforms like Netflix, American comedy specials have gained worldwide access. This democratization of comedy, where stand-up comedians are able to reach global audiences with just a click, has profoundly impacted African comedians. Netflix, in particular, has played a key role in showcasing African comedy to a larger international audience, while simultaneously introducing African comedians to American styles and formats. Trevor Noah's Afraid of the Dark special, which first premiered on Netflix, is an example of an African comedian who has incorporated American comedic techniques while remaining grounded in his African identity. His use of sharp political humor, paired with autobiographical storytelling, is an approach that mirrors the success of American comics like Louis C.K. and Jerry Seinfeld, but filtered through the lens of South African experiences. Additionally, Nigerian comedians like Ali Baba and A.Y. Makum have also adapted American-style comedy into their routines, using popular media platforms and comedy specials to reach African and global audiences. The cross-pollination of African and American humor on these platforms is creating new opportunities for comedians to not only that closely mirror American comedic trends. American comedians, especially influencers like Kevin Hart, have embraced social media as a direct way to engage with their audience, and this strategy has not gone unnoticed in Africa. Young African comedians have adopted similar tactics to build their personal brands, create viral content, and connect with audiences across the world. Instagram skits, TikTok challenges, and YouTube channels have become breeding grounds for emerging African comedy talent. In turn, these digital platforms expose African comedians to American comedic trends, further blending the two cultures. A notable example of this is the Nigerian comedic duo, Mark Angel Comedy. Their YouTube channel, which has millions of subscribers, produces skits that incorporate both traditional Nigerian humor and the more globalized, often slapstick, style of American comedy. By mastering the art of short-form, viral content, they have successfully bridged the gap between local humor and international comedic sensibilities. Challenges and criticism. While American comedy has had a significant influence on African comedians, this influence has not come without its challenges. Some critics argue that African comedians, in adopting American comedic styles, risk losing their cultural identity and failing to produce content that is truly reflective of the unique African experience. The global influence of American comedy can sometimes overshadow indigenous comedic traditions, such as the rich oral storytelling traditions that exist in many African cultures. Moreover, the influence of American stand-up comedy has raised concerns about homogenization. As African comedians emulate the rapid-fire delivery and observational humor popularized by their American counterparts, they may overlook the specific nuances of African social issues that don't necessarily resonate with global audiences. The challenge, then, for African comedians is to find the right balance between adopting global comedic influences and preserving their local flavor. The relationship between American comedy and African comedians is one of both adaptation and innovation. While American comedy has undoubtedly had a significant influence on the development of the African comedy scene, African comedians have used these influences to shape their own unique voices and identities. By blending